All right. I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rucha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is, and I will punish the world for their evils. And pretty much this title comes from the from the scripture in Isaiah, the 13th chapter, which we're going to read also. And Lord's will, we're going to try to read a good portion of that chapter, which is a very good chapter dealing with prophecy and dealing with the prophecy of Babylon and how it's going to be destroyed, showing you, that it's going to be destroyed, and also showing you that that's not dealing with ancient Babylon, because ancient Babylon is not destroyed in the fashion described in the book of Isaiah, the 13th chapter. And this video came through inspiration of a video I was watching earlier. The Elder Adama from the GMS Boston camp. Those arrows shall not miss once they are shot at Babylon. I was on my walk earlier and I was listening to this video, and I forget exactly what he mentioned in here somewhere. Here he played a video. I've seen the video before. It's I believe he played two videos, and they were going into Russia's technology of the Satan 1 and Satan 2 nuclear missiles. And pretty much it's pretty ironic, pretty heavy that, America, the world calls America the great Satan. They call America the devil, the great Satan. And here it is, Russia has missiles called Satan 1 and Satan 2, which when the time comes, those missiles will be launched on America. And what a way to go out, what a way to go out. So we're going to get into it, and Lord's will, this will be an edifying lesson. A few precepts that came to mind, and I kind of, as I was walking, just grabbing and different apps and different sites, I was just putting them, in there so I wouldn't forget them. So I just got a couple of them, and we'll just get into it. And you can watch this video. I also linked it in the description box. Elder Adama, Elder Adama's video. I linked it in the description box. Okay, so let's get into it. Isaiah chapter 13 and 1, it says, the burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see. Now, when the prophet Isaiah saw this vision, he didn't understand what he was seeing. He thought this was dealing with ancient Babylon, but it wasn't dealing with ancient Babylon. And as we read through here, you'll see that it's not dealing with ancient Babylon, because ancient Babylon was not destroyed in this fashion. What he didn't understand was this Babylon would be a title that today what's called America would be referred to. Because when you look at the word Babylon itself, it goes back to the Tower of Babel, right? You there, Babel, that's the root word. And the word Babel means confusion. It says here by mixing. Yeah, because they have different cultures here, different languages. And that's what happened at the Tower of Babel. They were building this tower to make a name for themselves so that if anything ever happened again, they wouldn't be destroyed as they were in the flood. The Lord saw it. He didn't like it, and he confounded the languages there. Therefore, it was called Babylon. So it's confusion by mixing, but also here in America, you have, a conglomeration of confusion, and this is why in the book of Revelation 17, it calls this place America, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. All right, because it causes nothing but confusion with all of the mixing together of everything, languages, the peoples, the languages, the customs, the religious ways that they worship, all fall under that banner. All right, so let's go back. So now verse 2 says, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain. High mountain sometimes represents an actual mountain, but in this case, it represents a high exalted government. All right. And you have governments of the world. You know, I don't know. Let me see how many governments are there in the world. There are three main types of political. I didn't ask you all of that. I asked you how many governments. According to 2020 Democracy Index, there are 23 countries. How many countries are there in the world? Contains the current constitution of every country in the world. 193 countries. So you have 193 countries, which the majority of them, right here, the majority of states in the world have a unitary system of government. Of the 193 UN member states, 126 are governed as centralized unitary states, and an additional 40 are regionalized, blah, 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 blah. So all of these countries out here have a particular government. All right. I didn't ask who are allied with this and what type of governments. I just asked how many governments are there in the world, you know? So 193 countries, as they say, which means there's 193 governments. All right. So America, this high mountain, is pretty much governing, which because you have smaller governments and you have higher governments. You know, you have just regular, smaller states or countries that have governments, but then you have, mega or, empire type governments. You have China, which is a major government. You have Russia, it's a major government. America is a major government. All right. So this particular government or high mountain is dealing with America. All right. You have something called the G7, G8, G20, which all of those are the top governments of the world coming together for particular meetings, whether it's something dealing with the military, something dealing with the economy, something dealing with an international emergency or whatever the case may be. All right. Let's see. All overview +7. The United Nations recognizes 195 national governments. The water, bro. See, that brother is on it. So 195 national governments. All right. So out of all those governments, you have major governments, like we've just mentioned, and America is the top government overall, and that's why it says that this city, which the scriptures identified as a city, governs over all of the kings of the earth. So what we're doing in this government, all those G7, G8, G20 meetings, which are top governmental governments coming together meeting, they come together in what's called a summit. And for those of you that don't know, the summit, okay, let's see, what is a summit? What is a summit? Summit, the highest point of a hill or mountain. See? So what is the highest peak of a country? Their government. So when you have these governmental summits, they are right here, a meeting between heads of government, which is what? The top of that particular country. All right. So going back, it says, lift ye up a banner. What is the banner? The banner is the Bible. Let's show you that real quick, like, for those of you that don't know. For you brothers that know this already, you know the deal. But in Psalms, the 60th chapter, in the 4th verse, it says, thou hast given a banner to them that fear thee. What is a banner? A standard. All right, you see flags. When you see a flag represents what? It represents what country or what faction you represent. So thou hast given a banner to them that fear thee, that it may be displayed. And this truth is supposed to be displayed because of the truth. Salah. So this banner or this Bible is the flag that we're supposed to be waving out there and teaching it. So when it says lift you up a banner upon the high mountain, meaning exalt this truth. Don't hide it in a napkin. Don't be a napkin brother. Be a brother that hits the button and just edifies. All right. Exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand. When you're exalting the voice, shaking the hand, you're telling somebody else. You're telling somebody that they're going off. In Isaiah 14, it says what? It speaks about, taking a proverb against the king of Babylon, saying how it's, the king of Babylon falling, the golden city falling, so on and so forth. And that's what it's supposed to be, what we're supposed to be doing. That they may go into the gates of the nobles. The gates of the nobles is where they hammer out policies, laws and all these different things to pretty much find out or figure out what to do with these men that are exalting the voice unto them and cursing them out using the scriptures. All right. And that's what they're doing. They've been doing that. This is why you have, a new wave of demons from the Christian church attacking the Hebrew Israelite thing, trying to demonize us, call us black Hebrew Israelites and try to defame us, try to make it seem like we're bugged out and this, that, the other. But that's all good because what that causes is nothing but confusion, which becomes stumbling blocks to the ones that the Lord doesn't want. Now, when we look up this word banner, it should go back up to the word Nasa or Nisi. Like in Exodus, it says Yahweh Nisi, which is Yahweh's banner, which I believe somebody put that up. Okay. No, they did. I thought somebody had put it up. It says something lifted up, standard, signal pole, ensign, banner, sign, sail, which is what? A flag. All right. You have flags, whether you waving a white flag of surrender or whether you waving the flag of your particular country. So this particular flag that we're supposed to be waving is the scriptures. All right. I have commanded my sanctified ones. Who are the sanctified ones? The prophets. All right. These are the prophets. I have also called my mighty ones for mine anger, who are the mighty ones? The angels, even them that rejoice in my highness, which proves that it's speaking about the angels. Okay. It says the noise of a multitude in the mountains. Now, what is this noise of the multitude in the mountains? Well, it first begins with the troops that are being amassed and gathered over there in what's called the Middle East, that side of the world. The Levant, you could call it the Levant, you could call it the Fertile Crescent, you could call it what you want to call it. Nevertheless, this is where all of these armies are being gathered. And when armies gather together, what happens? They make noises, Let's get real quick. Isaiah, the 9th chapter and the 5th verse. It says, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise. See? Why? Because you have all of these military men gathered together, swords clanking, men roaring and yelling from the adrenaline, the testosterone that's flying everywhere, and that adrenaline that's pumping, that's causing them to, to yell out and roar, which are battle cries. Battle cry, inside joke. So you have swords clanking, you have armor, clanking, you have, shields clanking, so this is all warfare. So that shows you that all of these different troops are coming together and being amassed out there in the Middle East, the barren land, as it says in the book of Joel, the 2nd chapter. All right. So that's that noise. So when we go to Revelation 16, just real quick, and the elder apostle Tar just mentioned this in his lesson, and there was another word that he mentioned, which I thought it was spelled different, but it's not. But it reminded me of something in the scripture, so I wanted to get into that too, Lord's will. Revelation 16 and We start at 15. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth, meaning keep your eye out, measuring the times, teaching, and keepeth this garment, which is what? This truth. Lest he walk naked and they see his shame. Right. Because if you're clad with the garment of truth and shod with the preparation of the gospel, you will not be, ashamed. It says, and he, meaning Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, gathered them together into a place. What is this place? Down there, what they call the Middle East. All right? That region, Saudi Arabia and those regions there, Iran, Iraq, ancient Babylon, the area of ancient Babylon, Mesopotamia, the plains of Shinar, all that region, called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. Now, when you go to the word Armageddon, for those of you that don't know, this is a Greek word that is, translated into the Hebrew as Armageddon. But when you go back to the Hebrew is Har Magad 1, which is a compound word. Har, as you can see here, means mountain, mount, hill country, or promotion. So in this case is what? Dealing with the mountain. And then Magad 1, Ma, when it's not connected to the Hebrew word, is of or from. And then Gad or Gad, the tribe of Gad, means troop. The one at the end makes it plural. So Magad 1 means mountain, or Har Magad 1 means mountain of the troops. Okay? And that's what the word Armageddon means. It's not talking about a particular place. It's talking about, the armies that are being gathered over there in the Middle East. What you could call that, because really Armageddon or Armageddon is really the final battle that's going to take place over on that side of the world prior to our Lord Yahweh Shai coming with the angels to take Esau and the other nations out. Armageddon, the hill of the city of Megiddo, is going to go into the history of Megiddo. That's not what it's talking about, although all of that region there is part of prophecy, but it really extends into Saudi Arabia. As you go, just get it real quick for those of you that may not know. Joel chapter 2 and verse 20. And it says, but I will remove far off from you the northern army. Who is the northern army? America. And it says, we'll remove far off from you. Why? Because where these troops are going to be taken is into another part of the world, because this is the end of the world. And will drive him into a land barren and desolate. What is this land, barren and desolate? That's over there in Arabia, in those regions there. You see the Iraq, Iran, and there's a reason why it's barren and desolate, because you have what? Nothing but desert in a lot of those regions. That's why the normal BDUs, the battle dress uniforms, which are military fatigues, went from the green and brown and black used in the jungle, in the forest, to the desert camouflage, because they were going to be in a desert according to prophecy. And those BDUs, those desert BDUs, I believe they started making those in the 1980s, because eventually in 1990, right, they started going over, they called it Desert Shield, I believe, then Desert Storm. Hence a land barren and desolate. And that's when the troops started going over there, and setting up shop. And from that point until now, which is what, more than 30, 35, 36 years or so, they've been, gathering over there. And not just the American troops, all these other troops also. But this is when America started going over there really in droves and setting up shop over there, for lack of better words. With its face towards the EC. The EC is the Mediterranean. I'm sorry, not the Mediterranean. The Euphrates River, which includes the Persian Gulf, because that's all going towards the east. And his hinder part, which is behind him, toward the utmost sea, and the furthest sea from the Euphrates River and the Persian Gulf that in that area would be going further south, which is the Red Sea. All right. So in between that, that's that land barren and desolate. And what's there? When you go, what land, if you type in what land is between the Euphrates River and the Red Sea. Let's see what it says. See, I didn't say nothing about the Tigers. I said Euphrates and the Red Sea. I didn't ask you for all of that land between two rivers. Well, let's do it this way. Euphrates River and the Red Sea map. Images. Boom. Let's see if this is see if that's big enough. That's decent. I mean, it's kind of, you have the Persian Gulf, you have Euphrates River, you have the Tigris River there, you have the Red Sea, and what do you have between here? Saudi Arabia, you have Iraq. So this region here, this is where this is where all this region militaries are being gathered. You know? And that's why I said that the Lord will drive the northern army to a barren land, desolate. All right? Get rid of that. Go back here. And this thing shall come out. Why? Because of all the dead bodies. That's why the very first job of these international bankers will be to identify where these bodies are, and the next group will be burying them, digging holes and burying them. And his ill savor shall come up because he have done great things. And this is heavy because this is a part of the lesson too. He have done great things, meaning he has sinned a great sin. Matter of fact, another scripture came to mind that actually popped in my head earlier, but I actually forgot about it. So Barakatah Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Now, let's go from there. Let's go back to Isaiah 13. I think I'm done here. Yep, I'm done there. Let me put these there. So Isaiah 13:4, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people. This is dealing with the militaries, but it also ties into the missiles. And the fifth verse goes more into the missiles. A tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together, right? Because when you have all these military men together, you hear a tumultuous noise, which is a great thundering, echoing noise. The Lord of hosts, or the Lord of the armies, Yahweh Tazabawath, mustereth the host of the battle. So the Lord is the one that's gathering these troops over there, just as we read in Joel, the 2nd chapter, and others. They come, right, matter of fact, another one came to mind. Let's go to Zephaniah 3:8. This is an oldie but goodie. Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, unto the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to what? Gather the nations. So who's gathering those nations over there? The Lord. For what purpose? That I may assemble the kingdoms, which is what? Mainly their militaries, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger. Why? Because the wicked have polluted the world, have done wickedness. These nations have done wickedness with them, which is Esau and the nations. Jacob has done wickedness, and the Lord has not forgot about that. It says, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy, meaning Esau is going to be taken out of power. All right. Everywhere that they're ruling is going to be taken away from them. America, which is Babylon the Great, will be totally destroyed. The land of Israel will be totally destroyed. and we don't know where other places around the planet will be hit by these missiles, but we know that the devastation is going to be so great that it really won't be safe on the planet. So the only place that we, Lord's will, we be the elect, will be safe, will be up in the chariots far above the earth, watching the earth rocking to and fro, and watching the lake of fire in America being totally devastated. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. So going back to Isaiah 13, so the Lord is mustering the host of the battle. It says they come from a far country, which is what? You have Russia, and you have even America's allies that have missiles are going to shoot their missiles here. You have Pakistan, you have India, you have China, and other Russia and other nations that have nuclear capabilities. Some is well known, others are not so well known. Some are, what is the word I'm looking for? They're suspicious of them having these missiles, but they don't know for sure. So all of these missiles are going to be shot. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, just like it speaks about in 2nd Ezra 16, the arrow that's going to be shot into the end of the world. Even Yahweh and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the what? The whole land. Ancient Babylon was not fully destroyed. Okay? I'm going to show you that. Now, the last ruler that sit upon the throne of Babylon was Nebuchadnezzar. When we read in the scriptures, it doesn't really mention Nebuchadnezzar, but it mentions his son, Belshazzar. Belshazzar was a king regent. He was a stand-in king for his father. All right. His father was out there battling. First, his father was in prison for like 10 years. Then when he got out, he just kept going right back to battle. So he didn't have time to sit on the throne. He left that to his son. All right. So Nebuchadnezzar, right, was the last king of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, ruling from 556 BC to the fall of Babylon to the Achaemenid Empire under Cyrus the Great in 539 BC. Okay? Now, let's jump down to fate. It says fate. Ancient accounts differ as to the fate of Nebuchadnezzar after the fall of Babylon. The 5th to the 4th century BC Greek historian Xenophon wrote that Ugbaru, or Gobrias, killed Nebuchadnezzar upon the capture of Babylon. But it is possible that Xenophon meant Belshazzar, whose death at the fall of Babylon is also recorded in the biblical book of Daniel, which is Daniel chapter 5. Berosus wrote that Nebuchadnezzar surrendered to Cyrus at Borsippa after the fall of Babylon, who dealt with him in a gracious manner, sparing his life and allowing him to retire, possibly appointing him to be a governor in Carmel, which is modern, approximately the modern Kerman province in Iran, where Nebuchadnezzar lived out the rest of his life. Now, these are, not what's the word I'm looking for? Not qualified, but these are, different accounts that are given of this individual's life. So they really don't know what to believe. The Royal Chronicle simply states that Nebuchadnezzar was captured in Babylon after retreating, leaving his subsequent fate unclear. Now, the scriptures didn't speak about him being there. I spoke about Belshazzar being there, his son, and Belshazzar just being taken over, a hostile takeover by Darius the Mede, that took him down. The dynastic prophecy corroborates Berosus' account by stating that Nebuchadnezzar was removed from his throne and settled in another land. If Berosus is believed, Nebuchadnezzar lived in the reign of Darius the Great, outliving both Cyrus and Cyrus' son and successor Cambyses II, given the Berosus claims that King Darius, however, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So pretty much, he was at war out there with the Persian Empire, but Babylon was taken down there was no war going on in Babylon itself when it was taken down. So the land was not totally destroyed. That's a farce. Right, shalom. Yeah, shabakata. All right, now, what's that right there? Oh, Lord, yes, now it's about to go down, baby. All right, so there's some coffee there, Dimash.
Wow.
I typed in City of Babylon today, and as you can see, some of it says ruins, which, you do have some ruins, but you still have buildings standing in ancient Babylon, the region of ancient Babylon. And ancient Babylon is 4 square mile feet, or four square miles in diameter. Now, a square mile is a square, it's an actual square that measures a mile all the way around the circumference. And not so. In other words, the 4 square miles is you have 1 square mile, which measures a mile all the way around that square. So you got a mile from south to north, from west to east is another mile, from north to south is another mile, and from east to west another mile. That's a square mile. So it's 4 square miles of that. What is the circumference, for lack of better words, or the measurement of ancient Babylon. And you can see that although you do have certain ruins, you do have still buildings standing there, and people that live in those regions still. All right. So this was not dealing with ancient Babylon. And that's what these so-called scholars don't understand. They don't understand that this Babylon is dealing with America, Babylon the Great. Now you have some that agree with that. You had Stan Johnson of the Prophecy Club, which we believe he used to watch us to get scriptures from us, because he would bring out a series of scriptures that America is Babylon the Great, and he would bring out the same exact scriptures in the same order that we would bring them out. No, that's not a coincidence. Now, I've heard Elder Apostle Tar mention how you had this guy by the name of Armstrong that mentioned, that America was Babylon the Great. But, from what I understand, they didn't go through, those same scriptures that we go through, or maybe they may have gone through some of them, but they never went through every one the way that Stan Johnson mentioned them in the Prophecy Club. Okay. So that shows you that, they'll take stuff that, that's appealing, but then, they won't give credit where they get it from. But we, on the other hand, wherever we get our information from, we give credit to the source, whether it be G. Edward Griffin, whether it be Eustace Mullins, whether it be anybody, whoever it may be, Aaron Russo, whoever. And we give credit to where we get our information from. So going back to Isaiah chapter 34, it says that the whole land is going to be destroyed by these missiles. The whole land of America, the land of ancient Babylon is still there. There's still buildings that are still standing, and there's still people living and thriving in that region. Once this place is destroyed, you can read Jeremiah 50 and Jeremiah 51. There will never be any inhabitants here, ever, from one end to the other. So when we go to Isaiah 34, we're going to start at 8. The point is in 11. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch from what? From this great fire. And the dust thereof into brimstone. Same thing that was rained down out of heaven by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai upon the cities, the 5 cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. And the land thereof shall become burning pitch from this devastation, which is what comes in the form of the missiles and the lasers from the chariots. It shall not be quenched night nor day. Why? Because there's going to be a long time where this big country is going to be burning from north to south, east to west, with everything in it, all the flammables and everything in it. So it's going to burn for a long period of time, which shows you here in this same chapter that everlasting fire, that the devil and Satan and all that's going to be relegated to, is only going to burn for a long time and then burn out. Because it says here, it shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever, meaning for a long time. from generation to generation it shall lie waste. Yeah, so we don't know if it's going to be 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, 40 years, 100 years. We don't know how long it's going to burn, but it's going to burn for a long time. From generation to generation shall it lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. Right. So you still have people that walk through those regions in ancient Babylon, as we just saw. So this is not talking about ancient Babylon. This is talking about the modern day Babylon. But this is the point. So after this fire quenches, right, eventually goes out, it says, but the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it. So how can these wild creatures live in a place that is on fire forever and ever and ever? Which shows you when you read about that in the New Testament, it's metaphoric for burning for a long time. It's literal, but it's going to burn for a long time and then eventually go out. It's not talking about everlasting and everlasting and everlasting forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. It says the owl also and the raven shall dwell in it, unless they're going to have asbestos suits. You know? I mean, I'm being facetious because it's ridiculous. And he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion. And what a metaphor. What a great metaphor for Babylon the Great being laid out on lines of confusion, which Babylon itself means confusion. Now, the word confusion here is a different word, but nevertheless, it still gives the same, impact. And the stones of emptiness, meaning that you're not going to know where one state ended, the other one began. You're not going to know where Disney World was at. You're not going to know where the public library was at. You're not going to know where the Statue of Liberty was at. You're not going to know where the Twin Towers were at. You're not going to know where the Empire State Building was at. You're not going to know where the Sears Tower was at. You're not going to know where any of these places are. You're not going to know where the White House was at, the Federal Reserve Bank. You're not going to know any of that because it's going to be the lines of confusion and stones of emptiness. All of those different places where these government officials, senators, and all that would gather together to hammer out policies and legislation for the international bankers. All of that's going to be destroyed. You're not going to know where any of that was at. That's the stones of emptiness. The line of confusion is the borders. You're not going to know where one border ended and the other one started. Let's see. The ancient city Babylon was located in modern-day Iraq on the lower Euphrates River, about 55 miles south of Baghdad. People still live there. America will never be inhabited ever again. Facts. F-A-X. It says, they shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, meaning what? These different places where these buildings were at, this is not literal. In other words, there's not going to be anything there. It says, but none shall be there. Why? Because they're going to be destroyed. And her princes shall be nothing, because they will be destroyed. And thorns shall come up in her palaces, right? Because eventually, after the destruction, after the smoke clears and all that, and animals start living here and start, there's going to be something for them to eat. They're going to be shitting. That's going to bring fertilization to these brambles or whatever this is going to come up, because it's not going to grow any vegetation, any trees, anything like that. They got to eat something, right? Nettles and brambles and the fortresses there. So wherever you have these different strongholds, these different bases, military bases, the Pentagon, the White House, these different governmental buildings, courthouses, this is all that's going to be there. It says, and it shall be an habitation of dragons and the court for owls. And it goes on and on and on. All right. So it's impossible for these desert creatures to live in something that's going to be burning forever and ever and ever. Okay. So this scripture here dispels the myth that this place is going to burn forever and ever. Or you go to a place that you burn forever and ever. The scripture in Jude, the first chapter, it's only one chapter long, where it speaks about Sodom and Gomorrah still burning to this day. It ain't burning to this day. But how is it burning? When you read it about it in the scriptures, they make movies about it based off of what's written in the scriptures. So in the memory of people, yeah, it's still burning. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. All right, so let's go back to Isaiah 13. So the whole land is going to be destroyed. And then we jump into the 6th verse, judgment on the day of Yahweh, Bashem Shai. Howdy, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Why? Because the Lord is tired of how this place is, constantly disrespecting him, and his son, Yahweh Bashem Shai, his word, claiming to the world that they're righteous, benevolent people, and they're not. And this is why the Lord's going to come and bring the ruckus. He's going to bring some serious judgment upon this place. It says, therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. Why? Because there are going to be unexplained things happening on the planet that no one of these hucksters, these so-called pork chop eating preachers, these sellouts are going to be able to give an explanation. They're not going to be able to explain away what's happening to the world. They're not going to be able to give their congregation the peace of mind that they need in giving them the understanding of why these things are happening. All right. But the scriptures speak about the elect, that the knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of our times and strength of salvation. And like we always say, Lord's will would be the elect. It says, Luke 21:25, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon, and we see that happening every day, and in the stars, and upon the earth, distress of nations, and we see distress of nations, uproars of the people. That's all a part of the signs that the end is coming. With perplexity. Why will they be perplexed? Because they're not going to have explanations as to why these things are happening. It says the sea and the waves roaring. You got tsunamis, typhoons, and all that. Men's hearts failing them for fear. And this is what we're reading in the book of Isaiah 13. And for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven, which are the governments of heaven, of this world, this modern day world, shall be shaken. And why will they be shaken? Because they're not going to have answers. They're not going to be able to, give a plausible answer that's going to be substantial enough to calm the minds of the people. So the word there for perplexity is aporia, state of one who is in perplexity. Look up the word perplex, right? Let's do it like this. Perplex, of something complicated or unaccountable, cause someone to feel completely baffled. No answers, complicate or confuse a matter. Okay? So people are going to be in a desperate mind state because they're not going to be able to rationalize mentally what's happening. They're not used to this uncomfortability. And the word for shaken is saluo. Saluo. A motion produced by winds, storms, waves, etc. To agitate or shake, to cause the totter, right? And what's that? That agitation and that shaking, these different governments that are in power not being able to have answers for the things that are happening worldwide, and not being able to, get things back, to so-called normal, to cast down from one's secure and happy state. See that normalcy bias, to move, agitate the mind, to disturb one. Okay, So let's go back to Isaiah 13. That's why their hearts are going to melt. Verse 8, and they shall, Isaiah 13 and 8, and they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth, right? Wanting this thing to, to hurry up and come to an end. Because when a woman is in travail, she's in pain. And what is her only thought in mind is, get this baby out of me, so she can get rid of that hurt. Well, that's what these people are going to be like. Their mind is going to be so agitated. They're going to be so perplexed and traumatized that all they want is for things to go back to normal. But they're not going back to normal. They shall be amazed one another. Their faces shall be as flames. So I want to go to some of these translations to show you. NLT. And people are terrified. Pangs of anguish grip them. So pangs are pains, are gripping them. It says, like those of a woman in labor. They look helplessly at one another, their faces aflame with fear. Now there was another one. Let me see. CSB. They will be horrified. Pain and agony will seize them. They will be in anguish like a woman in labor. They will look at each other, their faces flushed with fear. This is like a traumatizing experience that they've never witnessed before, and that they'd never, this is why it says that there's going to be a time such as never was since there was a time, even to this very time, and then shall the end come. So you get the idea. So now let's go back to verse 9. Behold, the day of Yahweh cometh, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate. Once again, the whole land, as we read in I believe that was the 6th verse. And he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. That's dealing with Jake, and that's dealing with Esau, because remember, Esau made himself guilty once he took the Bible and claimed to believe in the Bible and claimed to be the people of the Bible and claimed to uphold the principles of the Bible, which means he was supposed to uphold all of the laws that were written within the scriptures, which they did not. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. Why is that? The sun shall be darkened and is going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine, because there's going to be smoke, flames, ashes going up in this region of the world, and they're not going to be able to see, the sun, moon, stars. They're going to be out there. It's just like a cloudy day. When there's a real super cloudy day, the sun and the moon still out there because they get up every day, or they continue. They never stop their job. They're cycling the earth day to day. But when there's like a storm or something like that, you don't see the sun or the moon, but they're still there. That's what's going to happen. The smoke and the ashes and the fire is going to blot out the sun and the moon and the stars for a certain period of time in this area. All right? It says, and this is the main point, and I will punish the world for their evil, for their wickedness. All right, now, let's go from there. Let's see what we got here. Let me check this real quick. I forgot what this. Okay, I'm going to save this. Let me put this over here. Let me get another one. Let's see what else we got here. All right, I know what that is. Okay. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 10. We're going to start at 1. The point is in verse 3. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. And that's dealing with the legislation that they put in place. That's evil, that's wicked. It says to turn aside the needy from judgment, and that's why they do it, and to take away the right of the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. And that's all these devils do. And what will you do in the day of visitation? So what you going to do when the Lord comes for you? Huh? What you going to do? What you going to do when the Lord comes for you? Esau, that's a lesson right there. What you going to do when the Lord comes for you, Esau? And what you going to do when the Lord comes for you, E? Huh? What you going to do? You ain't going to be able to do nothing. You're going to be running. You're going to be hiding. And, you're going to be a sweating. But you international bankers, you're going to be dug in deep in those bunkers. You're going to be nice and cozy. You know, you ain't going to have a care in the world. And who knows? Maybe you don't. But afterwards, you know, when the Lord causes his elect to come kicking in your doors, then you're going to be, you know, in a state of agony. You goddamn cowards. You know, you destroy the whole world. You put people in straight up misery, but then when it comes upon you, you're gonna want, mercy. And like Elder Apostle Gabar says, man, that's gonna piss us off even more. You know, oh man, the brother just put the scripture I was just thinking about. Nahum 1 and 2. The Most High is jealous, and the Lord revengeth. The Lord revengeth and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he reserveth wrath for his enemies. The Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. You're not going to be acquitted. You're not going to get clemency. You're not going to get a pardon. You're not going to get a light sentence. You're not going to be able to cop a plea. None of that. You're going to get the full brunt. And what will you do in the day of visitation? And in the desolation which shall come from far, which is what? From the ends of the earth, when this destruction comes. To whom will you flee for help, and where will you leave your glory? And you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Isaiah 47 chapter. Isaiah 47 and 12. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth, from your inception. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Let's see if that's going to help you. Your sorceries and your witchcrafts and your spells and, and your incantations. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels, because that's all you have is, counsel after counsel after counsel as to what is next. What's your next step? The next step to your agenda. And what happens if this fails, if this is foiled, and blah, 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 this, that, and the other. We're going to got plan B, plan C, all the way to plan Z, and then start all over again with plan A all the way around. Let now the astrologers, your star watchers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators, all these individuals that give you your forecast of the future, stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Nothing you could do. You're doomed. Behold, they, your helpers, shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them, because they're going to be burnt up too. All your witches and wizards, warlocks, your left-hand energy priests and priestesses, your council of 13, all going down. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame, because the Lord is bringing that fire. That's the second death. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it, right? Because this place is going to be completely taken out. There ain't going to be a little corner anywhere in America, Babylon the Great, that's going to be left. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, and even these nations are not going to help you. Even thy merchants, the ones that got rich off of you from thy youth, going all the way back, all of these deals you made with these nations, the bond that you made with them, the pacts that you made with them, they shall wander everyone to his quarter, none shall save thee. Ain't nobody going to help you. And that's what we're reading right here in Isaiah 10 and 3. And what will you do in the day of visitation and in the desolation which shall come from far? To whom will you flee for help? And where will you leave your glory? All right. Now, one time this applied to Jake. This applied to the ancient Assyrians, but it applies really today to America. Okay. So now let's go to Isaiah 13:11, and I will punish the world for their evil. Now, let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra 15. And you have to remember, those of you brothers that are out there that are teachers, you know, but those of you that are newer members, you have to remember that what we're speaking about and the judgment that the Lord is bringing is going to be a worldwide judgment. Worldwide. This whole system, this whole agenda that the international bankers have been planning, going back, way back in the time. Inside joke, but seriously, it goes back to the 1500s and even before that. But dealing with what we see today, the 1500s, you had Ignatius de Loyola, otherwise known as Inigo Lopez, who started something called the Alumbrados, which is a Spanish way of saying Illuminati. Then in the 1700s, you had Anton Weishaupt, which pretty much followed in the same footsteps with the Illuminati, the illuminated ones, have been planning this for all that time. All this wickedness that they've done. But now it's time for them to pay. 2nd Ezra 15 and 14. So it's going to be a worldwide thing, this agenda that they're bringing. It took them a long time to get it off the ground, and they're going to get it off the ground, but so far. But it's going to fail miserably. So 2nd Ezra 15 and 14, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And that's why we see all of these prophecies coming to pass, all of these signs and wonders and mysteries that have been spoken of by the ancient prophets actually coming to pass right now as we speak. And don't think for one second that these devils ain't paying attention to what's going on worldwide. They're causing some of it to happen, but some of it is out of their hands. And there's going to come a point where the Lord is going to really, snatch it out of their hands. And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. You know why? Because there's going to be a lack of bread. You're going to have people that are going to be mad that you have other people in the land, whether they stole it or not, that are getting benefits that should really be going to them, like the situation with the migrant situation, and that's going to cause a dissension and hatred towards these particular from Esau, Jake against other Jakes, and invading one another, right? Because now people keep their distance to a certain point. But at that time, there's not going to be any, I'm the hell with stepping out of bounds on this person. They got something I want, I'm taking it. That's even this Edomite said that. Look, if you got something I need in that time, he got his weapons. If he can get to his weapons, he's taking it. And that's a sentiment. Only the strong will survive. It's called survival. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. They're not going to give a damn what the government says, because the government's going to be running for cover. Your presidents, your vice presidents, and this shit show that you got today, going on today, shows you just how much the presidency is garbage. I was watching a speech. I sent it to Elder Apostle Gabar. I was watching a speech because I was looking for that alien speech that Ronald Reagan gave. And Ronald Reagan was giving a speech, and he said, my time ran out. I know you think that I'm running things, but I'm not really running things, or something along those lines. But shows you that these presidents don't run shit but their mouth. They're pushing the agenda of the so-called elite. All right? And they have advisors that are set up and paid for by the international banking families and tell them, look, your time is up. You got to come down. Which shows that they ain't running nothing. They ain't in charge of nothing. So that when the time comes, people are not going to regard the kings nor the princes. That's why there's going to be civil war. There's going to be seditions, against the governments of the world, America included. And the course of their action shall stand in their power. Why? Because it's going to be a time of total chaos. Total chaos, mass confusion. So let's go back to Isaiah 13 and 11. And I will punish the world for their evil. Let me just bear with me 1 second. And I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity. So the Lord is bringing hell upon this place for all of the wickedness that they've done. Let's go from there real quick to the book of Revelation, chapter 18. And let's start at 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins. That's talking about the Israelites, the elect, going up into the chariots so that they don't receive of this punishment of the missiles and the lasers from the chariots that's going to come upon America. And that you receive not of her plagues, which is what? The ultimate plague is what? The missiles. For her sins have reached unto heaven. You have space debris, but also the wickedness that these devils have done has amassed. They went far beyond, they went above and beyond, as they say. And the Most High has remembered her iniquities. And guess what? Now it's time to visit. That's why I said, when you see the uproars of the people, this, that, and the other, then shalt thou well understand that it is a time that the Most High is going to visit the world which he made. And when the Lord comes to visit, it's not going to be pleasant. All right, now going back to Isaiah 13 and 11, and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease. Esau and these women, especially you Judite women, you so-called black women, and you other women of the tribes, and you Edomite women, your pride is going to go down right with your master and Lord, Esau. Oh, you're going to get in line overnight. You see these women acting a fool. Like they're a man, they act like they're tough, and that they can whoop a man's ass, and then they'll slap a man, and the man, pow, quickly hits her, and then the bitch remembers that she's a woman. Oh, you gonna hit a girl? You gonna hit a woman? Oh, wait a minute, bitch. What was that attitude when you hit me? You want equal rights? You get equal lefts too. Foots and everything to the mid structure. Oh man, these GMS guys are wicked, man. Yeah, fuck you. And will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. Esau, even your haughtiness is going to be laid down because you're the terrible. I will make a man more precious than fine gold. And now you understand when all this shit starts happening, you understand why the Lord is going to make a man more precious than fine gold, which is talking about the Israelite man, of the elect. Nothing more grandiose outside of the, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and the taking out of this place than the men of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai being, protected and exalted and elevated once again, when all hell breaks loose. You're going to see brother stocks go up, into the Richter, they're going to go past the Richter scale. Into the stratosphere in that day. My shit starts going down. Even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. It says, therefore I will shake the heavens. How is the Lord going to shake the heavens? By that horrible and terrible earthquake. We can find it in the book of Revelation 16. You can find it in the book of Isaiah 24. And others. And the earth shall remove out of her place. Why? Because everything is going to be rocking back and forth, to and fro. And, Elder Pastor made a beautiful analogy where he said that this earthquake is going to be so devastating that these buildings are going to be falling apart. See, because these buildings, when they were built, some of them were built rigid, And then after a while, they learn the dynamics of building buildings to where they can rock back and forth, so that they can avoid collapsing from earthquakes. So they had that technology, but this earthquake they ain't ready for. Them shits are gonna snap like toothpicks or like rotten twigs or rotten branches when a heavy rainstorm hits it. So it's going to be total devastation and annihilation worldwide. In the wrath of Yahweh Bashem Shai of hosts, in the day of his fierce anger. It says, and it shall be as a chase rohu. It's dealing with Esau, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people and flee everyone to his own land. Right. You have these nations that are going to go home. And you're going to have, all of this, everybody, is equal. And, I got black friends. I got Latino friends and all that. That's going to go out the door. Everybody's going to cleave to their like in that time. Everyone that is found, meaning Esau, which is the main one, they're going to cleave to Esau. Jake is going to cleave to Jake. So-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians going to band together. Some of them are going to fight each other, but the elect are going to come and bind together. Everyone that is found shall be thrust through, meaning these heathens that are found are going to be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. And you Jakes, you Sambos that want to join with Esau and, talking about that you're going to stand up for their rights, you're going to get it too. The Lord's going to cause you to get it. It says, their children also shall be dashed to pieces. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got that one already. Their children shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. So they nobody escaping. The houses shall be spoiled and their wives ravished. All right. And I'll leave it to your imagination what that's talking about. Then it says Babylon will fall to the Medes. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. This is dealing with Russia. All right. The region that the Medes held back then and where their headquarters was at, that's heading up into, towards Russia. And eventually the Russians that ruled from, well, at one time when they were in their full power, they had the Iron Wall, they had Georgia, Russia, which is around the area of the Caucasus Mountains. From that region up, that's all the Medes today. The modern day Medes today are the Russians. All right. And you could go to Ezekiel 38, and prove that the Russians today are who they are. But today they're being run by the Edomites, even though you have a lot of Jake among them. Which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Right. They're not going to give a damn about money. Why? Because they're a war type people. They're rough. And they see all the dirt and the chaos that these cowards are doing. They will not dare to get, fight hand-to-hand combat with these Russians. They'll get twisted up like pretzels. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces. What are their bows? They're talking about their missiles. They shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb, right? Because the missiles don't have any feelings. Their eyes shall not spare children. It doesn't matter if it's man, woman, children, little children, old people, young people, people in a wheelchair, people that are retarded. They don't care. They don't have feelings. They're not going to have an opinion. Or I shouldn't destroy this person because it's just a baby. No. Does that mean that we shall come together in faith? Nope. The only ones that's going to come together in faith are the Israelites that are, of the elect. That whole Renaissance Christianity that was taught in this society that God loves everybody and everybody should come together as one, that's not going to happen. The only ones that's going to come together are the elect of the nation of Israel, which are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Now, I will say this. You have so-called white-looking people out there. The original Edomites are so-called white people. But you have so-called white people out there that are Israelites that look like so-called white people. The best way to explain that would be looking at so-called black men that have married white women and their children look like white boys or white girls. Those white-looking individuals that have so-called black fathers, they're Israelites that look like your typical so-called white person. And that's the only hope a so-called white-looking person, has, is if their line goes back to one of the tribes of the nation of Israel. Okay? So it says, their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, that's dealing with America today, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. So how did the Lord overthrow Sodom and Gomorrah? By raining down fire and brimstone from heaven upon those 5 cities for being wicked. In America, which claims to be a Judeo-Christian following nation, they have that history of what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. It's in the Bible. It even tells you that those cities were destroyed so that those that lived in that fashion should have an example of what not to do, so that they won't have that calamity come upon them. But what do? They give trans rights. Man could get married, woman and woman could get married. So if the Lord did that to Sodom and Gomorrah back then, how much more do you think he's going to do it to this country, especially to this hypocritical country that claims to uphold the law, statutes, and commandments of God, but doesn't? Think about it. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. And ancient Babylon is still inhabited to this day. You have certain ruins, certain places, but you still have a thriving community there. You still have buildings that are built there. You still have people that live in those regions, in those lands. And the Lord said that once this Babylon is destroyed, there's never going to be any inhabitants there again. So that's definitely not talking about ancient Babylon. So it says, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, because you have Ishmaelites that come to this country and they set up shop here. They live here in America. Neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. They're not going to be setting up camp here anymore. But wild beasts, which is the same thing we read in Isaiah 34th chapter, same thing we read in Revelation the 18th chapter, same thing we read about in the end of this chapter here, Isaiah 13. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the island shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. Right, anywhere where you had these different building structures, that whether they were used for plays, whether they were used for officiating business, commercial business, or whatever the case may be, whether it was set up as a religious place, whether it was set up as a governmental place where they hammered out policies and legislation, is all going to be destroyed. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged, because there's going to come a time and a day that's going to be destroyed, that this place is going to be destroyed. Does not the book of Romans teach that we shall be judged by faith? Yeah, that's talking about the Israelites. Through the new covenant, yeah. Who was the new covenant for? The Israelites. Go back and read Jeremiah 31 and go back and read Hebrews the 8th chapter. The days will come that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. It said nothing about the world, because the first covenant is not what you think. The first covenant was the law, statutes, and commandments given to the nation of Israel, and they had to keep it. And the way that it was cemented was by the blood of animals, a sacrifice. So when we didn't keep that, what happened? The Lord made room for a second covenant with the same people that he made the first one with. Are you familiar with Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, where it speaks about, the uncircumcision? Those are Israelites that fell away from their God, for lack of better words. And as you read further down, it said that they became aliens from the Commonwealth of Israel. And as you read further down, it said that they would be reconciled. Do you understand what the word reconciled means? The word reconciled means to be brought back to the good graces of someone, of friendship between two people. The law, statutes, and commandments were never given to the other nations. So how can they be reconciled into something that they were never a part of? And besides, the book of Romans was written to the saints. Who are the saints? The Israelites. Read Psalms 148, verses 13 on down. Saints means holy. Who are the holy ones? The Israelites. What made them holy? The law, statutes, and commandments that the Heavenly Father gave us to separate us from the other nations. Trust me, whatever scripture you're going to come with, we've already dealt with this hundreds of times. Christianity is dead. That's that white supremacist Renaissance / plantation Christianity. That's not biblical. You've been duped, my man. So if you're an Israelite, repent and may the Lord have mercy on you. And if not, then hey, you ain't going to receive mercy if you're not an Israelite. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say, shalom.